Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
So, good morning and welcome everybody to this meeting, this session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. We will dedicate today's reflection to the collaboration between clusters and the European Digital Innovation Hubs. And in order to speak about that, we have two excellent speakers, Bianca Muntea from the Transilvania IT cluster and Frank Bosenberg from the Silicon Saxony. Thank you very much for joining us today. Before entering into it, I want to remember everybody that this session is recorded and we will publish it later in the ECCP platform and in our European Cluster Alliance channels. So if you remain with us, you are agreeing with that. Thank you. Just one reminder, we are working on helping the task force of the European Commission that is promoting the increasing of the production capacities for the COVID-19 vaccines. And we created a survey for all those companies that could help in this increasing of capacities. And so if you know of any company that could be involved, please forward the invitation, forward the survey, forward our contact to them. And for sure, if you think that you could participate, do it, okay? We are working now for your information, we are working on a report that we will send today to the European Commission, and I need to say thanks to Siver that is really involved in this report. Mark the challenge, his president, and Anais and Nina that is working. We are working a lot of hours in this reporting. So today we continue speaking about digital transition. You have in the screen the 5 recommendations from the expert group on clusters, where Bianca participates and Frank too. So here we have three of the participants in this expert group. You have in the screen the 5 recommendations related to the digital transition. Even digital is related to near everything. And concretely, there is the 8 that say make clusters an integral part of digital innovation hubs through incorporating clusters into their governance and operation in a continuous collaboration on the digital transition. And today we will explore how to do that, and with the references from Germany and Romania that both speakers will share with us. Without more waiting, I will give the floor to Bianca. I know that Bianca needs to leave us at 9. So Bianca, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this session. I'm very honored to be here together with my colleague Frank, which will give also his perspective, because the both of us we coordinated the subgroup on the working group of clusters, in which we dealt with how can we use all the work of the clusters in the service of the new digital innovation hubs, which the European Commission intends to create and to support under the Europe Digital Program. And I'm very happy to see here also some of my colleagues, Felix Arion, for example, from the agricultural cluster, who is also involved in our Transilvania Digital Innovation Hub, and also he will leave soon for the location, because later on today we will have a session, a local session dedicated to cluster and digital innovation hubs. And I will try to, I don't know, is Nina sharing, or do I have the right to share my
You have the right. You are.
Okay, let me see if I can manage it without losing too much time. Okay. I don't seem to get along very well with the preferences in Go Meeting. I didn't use it for presenting it before, so my digital.
Don't worry, I can do that. Let me just put your presentation there, and now I am sharing.
That's perfect. Thank you, Antonio, for your support. It's great always having you around and supporting us with everything. So the thing is that what we really wanted to emphasize in our work, because this expert group, which is working very close with DG Grow from European Commission, intends to gather all the experiences coming from all the member states. And we are having their public administration, central public administration, dealing with clusters in our meeting. And also 10 experts, Alberto, Frank, and myself, we are among those 10 experts selected by the European Commission to work under this group. And the first part of my presentation will focus on the findings of our policy, included in our policy paper, which will be published by the working group and the DG Grow. And then on the second part of my presentation, I will speak to you about our concrete example. How did we approach this new concept for us, at least in Romania? Digital innovation hubs do not have a very long history. I suppose it's the same in some other European countries. And how did we manage to use the experience from the clusters and put it in the benefit of the digital innovation hubs? Next slide, please. Just a brief presentation on this expert working group. Actually, we put together a lot of findings and some recommendation related to leading the green transition, accelerating the digital transition, and building resilience. Next slide, please. And of course, I will very briefly present the outcomes of the other sub-working groups, because all these are being led by the best experts and by those cluster managers or people involved directly in these specific topics. So regarding the green transition, one of the findings we had in our working group was that the clusters need to develop and implement circular economy strategies and to promote the entrepreneurial culture for green businesses among the small, medium-sized enterprise. Next slide, please, Antonio. The second reference is, of course, related to the main topic of this morning's meeting and refers to the digital transition. And we focused a lot on how the clusters should develop a robust ICT industry in Europe, and also how could the cluster support the uptaking of digital skills, digital technologies, also in other fields of activity. And beside the digital innovation hubs, which I will present more detailed a little bit later during my presentation, we also spoke about the European Skills Agenda, and you might be familiar with the Pact for Skills, which I encourage you to join if you didn't do so yet. because, of course, the skills agenda, it is an integral part of the digital innovation hubs, and it also reinforced the relevant public-private partnership supporting the integration of physical and also digital systems. Next slide, please. And of course, the building resilience, because we were all affected by the pandemic. And we also spoke a lot on how the policies could assist the clusters in building and using the collective intelligence of our members in order to cope with these challenges and unforeseen situation we are all facing. So groups of enterprises need to anticipate changes and operate as a network for finding different supply and market alternatives. And in his introduction, Antonio also referred to some of the biggest challenges we are still facing. Of course, the matching and reskilling and upskilling with the business needs to happen with an active role of clusters in the local labor market. But also the clusters need themselves support, and they need that from the policymaker, from different policies and programs in order to be able to do all these things. Of course, measures are required to create capacity for SMEs to enter into the global value chains and to benefit from different EU free trade agreements. Next slide, please. And now going we can take the next slide, because all these recommendations which were found by different meetings in the past year, of course these meetings were held online, will be published in a policy paper by DG Grow, and you will find all this information in that paper, so I will not spend too much time giving you these insights. But I will start speaking about the relation between the digital innovation hubs and the clusters. Of course, clusters do not equal digital innovation hubs, because these digital innovation hubs are meant to be the backbone of implementation of the Europe Digital Program, and they are meant to be used in order to facilitate the digital transition of small and medium-sized enterprises, but also to support the digitalization in public administration. What we have found is that, of course, the ICT clusters have a great knowledge on technologies. They have gathered a lot of competencies, capacities, and capabilities from their members, which could be, of course, large companies, but also small and medium-sized enterprises and also startups. And of course, we have the clusters from other fields of activity which are very close to the market, very close to the needs in regards of digital transformation of their respective small and medium-sized enterprises. So the practical cooperation between the cluster members and the digital innovation hubs could be, for example, in raising awareness among cluster members regarding the digital transformation opportunities. Then having the development of internal and external capacities and capabilities for building digital competencies. Putting up different programs and offering vouchers for digitalization, for example. The clusters in collaboration, the IT clusters and the non-IT clusters could organize different demonstration projects and provide non-commercial information on potential technologies to be used. Because these digital innovation hubs are meant to be and are thought to be one-stop shops in which public administration and small and medium-sized enterprises could address and could find different digital solutions, digital services, access to different digital trainings in order to see what type from these digital technologies, what type of services or products would they use in order to improve their activities. Next slide, please. So one of the recommendation of our European expert group on cluster on clusters was to make the clusters an integral part of the digital innovation hubs through incorporating clusters into their governance and operations in a continuous collaboration on the digital transition, because it makes no sense to work in parallel. Already the clusters have a rich history in working in their respective regional ecosystems. We know also that there are not many available resources around Europe. And this, I'm referring not only to financial resources, but also on competencies and capabilities, which have already been identified and used by the clusters in their respective work. So we strongly advise to use all the results or the project, all the resources, capacities and capabilities already existing in different regions of Europe, and to put them to work under the umbrella of the digital innovation hubs. Because one main challenge will be faced in these digital innovation hubs will be related to the need existing on the market regarding the digital transformation. And we do not see any better entity or type of organization to be aware of these benefits of digital transformation rather than the clusters from all the fields of activity. So in a practical matter, because I'm not speaking in terms of recommendation or policy making, but we have tried to do this in our region, in northwestern region of Romania, where we have the luck to have really strong clusters without having a national policy in supporting clusters and the functioning of clusters in our region. We've managed to gather some really good ones. Currently, we have, I think, more than 6 clusters in our region. We are the technological clusters involved in Transilvania, Northern Transylvanian Cluster Consortium, and together with our colleagues from agriculture, furniture, energy, creative industry, new materials, tourism, we are working in order to identify the need of digital transformation at one hand, coming from the non-IT companies, coming from the public sector, and on the other hand, to have the solution providers offering these digital transformation solutions. Next slide, please. Of course, we are working and we are following the global value chains, and this collaboration we are having here regionally, it's a collaboration built through value chains, and this also could be incorporated in the digital innovation hubs, where the two main functions are intended. One, to have the digital transformation happen, but also to support the innovative projects in the SMEs, to support innovation experiments under the umbrella of the digital innovation hubs. Next slide, please. I don't know how familiar are with the concept of the digital innovation hub. Of course, there is a lot of this material out there. You have access on it. The best is from the official sources, from the DigiConnect website, where you have all related information on the Digital Europe program and what these digital innovation hubs can be and could be. But of course, you have to adapt it to the reality existing in your region. We did so, and these DIHs could be seen and could be built on the existing regional cooperation. And of course, here I'm referring to the clusters, universities, research center, and such. But also with service providers outside our region in order to support companies and public administration in their digital transformation. Next slide, please. I wouldn't like to spend more time in my presentation because Frank also will give you his perspective on what happens in his region. And I only want to refer to our current partnership because the building blocks and the pillars of Transilvania Digital Innovation Hub, which is the hub Transilvania IT cluster coordinates, are the clusters existing in the region, the clusters which know to speak on SMEs language, the clusters which can identify very well the needs of their members, the clusters which can, of course, could help making this matchmaking between non-IT and also technological field in order to support the digital transformation. And I would also, having these components of our members, I would also would like to tell you that through the Digital Innovation Hub, the main functionalities which will be developed, but which are currently run by us as a clusters, are Test Before Invest, offering access to Test Before Invest facilities, supporting training and skills in digital transformation, identifying different financing sources for digital transformation and innovation projects, and also supporting the development of the ecosystem. And then you have on the last slide my contacts. I would be more than happy to enter in dialogue with you and to speak in terms of collaboration and exchanging best practices. But we saw that we can do that, and the clusters can be a very solid ground in order to build the digital innovation hubs for the Future Europe Digital Program. Thank you very much.
You are very, very welcome, Bianca. Thanks to you. We will deviate a little from our usual format because you are leaving us in 5 minutes more or less. So if somebody has a comment or question to Bianca, please share it with us now.
Good morning, if I can. Christina from AgriFood Lithuania. Yeah, good morning. Well, first of all, Bianca, thank you so much for such an insightful presentation. I cannot agree more on your points. This is what we already been talking also in Lithuania, and I strongly agree that digital innovation hubs not only should, they must be connected with the clusters, and this is the basic for the development on the Green Deal and digitalization, that's for sure. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, is Transilvania IT cluster is planning or maybe already is a part of the to become a European digital innovation hub? This is my first question. And then you've been saying that one of the priorities what you are doing, that's providing the consultations of the funding for the digitalization and etc. So my question is, what is the situation on your national level? Are you getting extra funding, for example, for the digital innovation hubs to provide those fundings for the SMEs on the road for the digitalization? Because I think it really strongly depends how and where from those funds gonna be coming. So it depends how the digital innovation hubs and clusters could collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina, for your questions. To answer to your first question, Romania has already finished the national selecting process for the European call of the European Digital Innovation Hubs Network. And yes, Transilvania Digital Innovation Hub is among the 12 potential EDIHs which can apply to the European call. So we've passed half the way. Regarding the co-financing, I have to be very honest with you. We've also created a national association with digital innovation hubs in Romania, and we are working very close with national and regional authorities in order to identify the best funding source for the functioning of these digital innovation hubs. And I must say that I'm quite happy that we have a very open approach. I mean, at least until now, we've been listened. We've been listened in order to give the needs our potential future EDIH will have. So now it's under discussion to put the co-financing through structural funding part in our country. And it's also a discussion undergoing regarding the resilience plan to fund some of the activities under the resilience plan. So it's not something which is already been decided. We are speaking about identifying a form of multi-program funding for our activities in order to identify some complementarities between different functions the DIH is offering. We do not have the final outcome. It's still an ongoing discussion, but we are expecting the national government to co-fund these EDIHs if they will be selected by the European Commission. And of course, they will also be the regional digital innovation hubs, because the EDIHs are not all. They will also be smaller DIHs, maybe focusing more on the regional aspect, and which will be most likely funded through regional authorities. Of course, now it's on the making. All the programs are being discussed and negotiated, but we are at the table.
Yeah, thank you so much. And just one more little question. I hear what you are saying. So it's very similar in Lithuania for the ones which have been pre-selected to become the EDICs. They're gonna be co-funded, of course, by national government. But as you were saying, we have the same situation in Lithuania because we have more DICs, which not all of them gonna be joining EDICs. So they still need to find co-funding and to provide those services for the sectors, digitalization services. So maybe if you have what I'm hearing, you already have some good examples how you are arguing on the best practices and how you're arguing that those DICs should be co-funded. If you could share at least some good practices, that would be more than appreciated, because we have the same situation and we are talking with the governmental authorities. And me personally, I have this vision also that some smaller DICs should be co-financed on the regional levels, for example. So yeah, it would be very appreciated, Bianca, if you could share maybe some, if I could write maybe email and share some use.
Yeah, Christina, if you just give me an email, I can update you with all our steps. I think that the most important thing we have to do is to explain to the policymaker and to be there in order to make them understand what our role as a cluster and what is our role as a DIH, in order to make them aware of the importance of having the DIHs supported.
Exactly, I strongly agree with you, because those two identities should be combined in order to achieve the maximum results. Yeah, thank you so much, Bianca.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Bianca. You need to leave us, but you are always a great contributor. So thank you. And we continue with Frank. I'm sure that Frank will give us also his experience and approach. And so, Frank, you are invited. Should I present your file, or would you prefer to do it yourself?
I would try it on my own. If it works, it's easier. If not, we have to fall back.
Now?
So you should see my
Not
presentation now.
Yes. Just kidding.
Okay.
Thanks.
So yeah, thanks for the introduction again. Also thanks to Bianca again. Hello everybody. It's an honor to be here and to be able to present my experiences on how we became an European Digital Innovation Hub. Not yet, but we are on the way. Maybe this is an introduction when the entire story of digital innovation hubs started 3-4 years ago. I started to raise the question within our boards, but also towards the European Commission, what's the difference between a cluster and a digital innovation hub? We found an answer for us, which is related to the services, and maybe this answer helps you as well. Still, I find the question difficult, in particular if you are an IT cluster. And we will start with this. I will explain in 2 slides what we are as Silicon Saxony, because there's some misunderstanding sometimes. The term Silicon Saxony is used in 2 meanings. So if the Prime Minister of our region talks about Silicon Saxony, he's talking about the entire, what we call ecosystem, the entire region that got this nickname and which hosts 65,000 employees in the branches of microelectronic, semiconductor, but also ICT. So we are a technology cluster and an ICT cluster in both meanings as a region. And the second meaning is really the name of our organization. Silicon Saxony EV is a registered association existing for 20 years now. We hold the gold label, renewed 3 times already. We have 12 employees, 360 members. So if you recall the figures from the previous slides, 2,300 potential members, 360 members that pay membership fee. And we are independent, means we are not structurally financed by the state or the region. We are a self-sustainable cluster organization that for 20 years now set up business models to survive, basically, to justify its existence. So if I talk about services, I usually talk about services that are based on the needs of our members, because those are the ones who pay. And membership fees is one business model. It's not our only one. Only approximately 30% of our income comes from membership fees, and the others come from other services. What are these services? As I learned that clusters are very different in different regions. So we do conferences and events. We do joint appearances on trade shows, or at least we did before COVID. Now it's digital, everything, of course. We initialize projects between our members and beyond the own ecosystem. Of course, we provide information, collect them, and help to market the services of our members. And we do lobbying, means information exchange and joint policy making. In particular, on the regional level, if it comes to microelectronic, this goes up to the EU level due to the special situation of our cluster and the related microelectronic industry. All this is done for several years, of course, on an international level. So if we talk about cluster services, we are internationalized for, and I will show this slide, for at least 9 years now. So we set up the Silicon Europe Alliance, an European cooperation between clusters in 2012 already. So core statement, clusters cooperate on an international level for quite some years already. So that's the history part. And then a few years ago, the hub story appeared. It appeared at first in Germany at the national level with the so-called DE hub initiative, where we said, okay, we have to appear as an ecosystem / as a cluster on this map, on this German map with digital hubs. And we reviewed our services, and we set up by purpose a new entity for delivering services related to digital transition. It was something that we did to some extent also as a cluster organization, but it was not our core business. Our core business and also our core business models were and are related to what is called innovation ecosystem in the logic of the EDIH. So we set up a new entity called Smart Systems Hub. And this is important if you look on the left axis. This Smart Systems Hub was set up in the very beginning for delivering services on a regional level. So the start was again acting locally or regionally. What are the services that the Smart Systems Hub, so the Digital Innovation Hub that we created, is delivering? And you will recognize in the wording some of the services that are demanded also by European Digital Innovation Hub. The self-selling approach is to divide it into 3 categories. It's academy, demo zone, and factory. And the title overall could be co-innovation. So what we did and what we created are precise services where our members, it was in the first instance our own members, jointly created solutions related to IoT and digital transition, lasting from a half day of meeting, that's the left side, up to a 3-month program creating really new digital business models and even digital products. And we do not focus alone on SMEs here. We, of course, also include the large players that we have in the region. And it's also part of the truth that they finance part of those services at the first instance, at least. All of this is also co-financed by our region with 50%. Christina, to answer your question on Bianca's presentation. So the work of our regional hub is co-financed by the region of Saxony. Very quickly, we cooperated on national level with the so-called DE hubs. And this is the map of the German digital innovation hubs that were set up in 2018 by the German Ministry of Economy. It's important to know that the German national ministry did not allocate funding to the single hubs. They had to found their own funding or business model. What the German government is doing here on a national level, they are marketing those hubs and also the network of hubs. So they are supporting network organization or network activities between those hubs. They are not financing the single hubs. This is still task of the single hub or of the region. And you will recognize Dresden in southeast of Germany here as one of the dots on this map. And then the European Digital Innovation Hub story appeared. So we had to partner again, and this is one of the core learnings as a cluster manager, of course, and also as someone who is involved in the Digital Innovation Hub. It's only doable if you cooperate with organizations that are already existing. In our case, we of course had a look also on the intention of the European Digital Innovation Hub. They should serve an entire region. So we joined forces being located in Dresden with the 2 other major cities and structures that were existing there that are partly members already in the cluster organization, partly not, but that are strong in providing also services related to the European Digital Innovation Hub. And we created, that's a consortium now, it's not a legal entity, a consortium that runs under the name of EDIH Saxony, and that has successfully mastered the first application step. So we are accredited on the national level. Also, and this is due to our strategic move, also as the only consortium in our region. So we are without any competition on the EU scale if it comes to an EDIH in our own region. As we basically incorporated all potential competitors in our consortium already. What we are doing now, we are trying to extend this cooperation, which is taking part for the services of the EDIH, again to an international level. And for this, we are looking actively for partners within Europe, for setting up this EDIH network. So the conclusions from my practical experience, and I have to say, as a cluster manager of Silicon Saxony, I'm also responsible for the internationalization activities within our Digital Innovation Hub and European Digital Innovation Hub Consortium. So it's really up to the level of personal involvement, where we do a real cooperation between cluster and EDIH. I have the following conclusions. First, also, or even if we talk about funding for the European Digital Innovation Hub, you should consider the business models that drive the organization if you set up a new organization. And in particular, if you set up a new structure up to the level of a new legal entity, you should think about the business model, the underlying business model first, because the funding of the hub is a funding. It's not a sustainable business model. So, for instance, what we agreed with our Digital Innovation Hub, it will not have a membership fee-based business model, as this would be a direct competition with us as a cluster organization. They are really they have more pay per use business model. Then the second step, adding the European component to regional services. Again, usually cluster organizations have a vast experience in cooperating on an international level, so they can bring in the experience also to a European Digital Innovation Hub. And the last thing, and this is also maybe an answer to you, Christina, a close cooperation with the regional authorities is absolutely crucial for this, because in the end, the one who wants the service has to pay. And with regard to digital transition, we identified 2 or basically even 3 types of customers. Companies that realize that digital transition is necessary and that do actively invest whatever they have in services in a digital transition. That are easy to find clients also for Digital Innovation Hub. Then you have some that are cautious, I would say, and that need some trigger points, and public funding can help here. And the last one is a group that is not even aware of the necessity to transform their business, and we are still arguing with our policymakers on to what extent they should be a target group of our services. Of course, our policymakers want to leave no one behind, I would say it like this. As someone who provides services, we also say we cannot wait, and we cannot carry someone, or we can carry someone to the water, but he has to drink on its own. What helped definitely also in regard to our European Digital Innovation Hub is the cooperation with in our case, the Ministry of Regional Development, where we will jointly focus on the topic of so-called smart region. So they also bring in, at least indirectly, then public funding into our consortium, into our European Digital Innovation Hub consortium. Yeah, that's it for the presentation part. I'm looking forward to any kind of question. And as Bianca, I'm providing my contact data here. You will see both domains of the hub and of the cluster. You will end up with my phone number, and I'm the one to answer you the questions. But it's a collaboration of many actors in our ecosystem. Thank you.
You are very welcome, Frank. Thanks to you. I think that your presentation has touched key points, and I am sure that they have created some new questions from the audience. So the floor is open. Who wants to comment or ask, contribute?
Once again, well, thank you so much, Frank. This is Christina again, for mentioning my questions and trying to answer them. Thank you for such a great presentation again. So this is one more excellent example on how the collaboration between clusters ecosystem and digital innovation hubs ecosystem is not only possible, but it's working, and it's already a very good showcase. So also, once again, I would like to thank you, and I say for sure I'll be contacting you just also to maybe discuss some good examples that we can also be providing to our local authorities and trying to solve those arising questions. In this case, I can see that the same problems or the same issues are arising, and only as a community we can solve them. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
In fact, one possibility would be to organize some specific session or group between clusters working specifically on digital innovation hub. This is this kind of session, but we could organize, if you want, a private session, you know, where you could exchange, or even a working group. I don't know, but
I think, yeah, Antonia, I think it's such a great idea. If we could manage something like this, I think some good ideas could come out of this. Because me personally, I'm also very stuck to this idea that collaboration with the digital innovation hubs and clusters should be very tight. And still, even in my country, I still have to prove not only to the government, but even to some of the clusters, because they also have some doubts whether this collaboration is useful or it should be managed in this way. So yeah, it would be such a great idea if we could manage something like this, like a workshop maybe.
We could invite all the clusters collaborating with Digital Innovation Hub to a specific workshop, yes, and explore that. Why not? Thank you. Okay, Christina, would you say what is your situation?
I'm sorry?
What is your situation there in Lithuania?
Okay. So yeah, well, basically it's very similar, because Agri-Food Lithuania, we are also digital innovation hub, which was created on the foundation of Agri-Food Lithuania cluster. So in this case, I understand what we are talking about, and I'm always presenting this new idea that clusters should be working very closely, very tightly with the digital innovation hubs. And what is the most important part, I think, talking with the governmental authorities, because this is the time to talk, because structural funding is being organized and structural funding programs are being created right now. So we are saying that it should be special co-financing, maybe for the digital innovation hubs, to create ecosystems surrounded with the clusters, because clusters, as everyone mentioned, it's the part of the ecosystem who know their SMEs the best. Nobody knows their SMEs the best. So this is the identity. Only the clusters can say what is the best, what's the biggest value of the digitalization for their members, and how to attract those members, how to talk with them, and how to argue to go digitalized or to implement the new technologies for the Green Deal goals, and etc., because I'm sure that many SMEs have very different feelings about those new goals coming up. And we've been talking a lot in our country, for instance, and many have doubts even. And they think it's going to be too hard, or it's too expensive, or they don't understand. So I think digital innovation hubs, together with the clusters, can co-create this safe ecosystem and prove to the end users, to the SMEs, or even in our case, because we are concentrating on the agri-food sector, so in our case, even for the farmers, that together we can overcome those challenges, and we can find, for instance, the funding, or we can find the support in the new skills which are needed in the upskilling, reskilling, and even we are also working, for example, with the universities and other institutes which are providing the official teaching courses. in order also to provide the necessary skills, teachings, seminars, workshops to show that all those arising questions could be really solved if we work together. So this is basically what we're having right now in Lithuania, and this dialogue which is going on with us and the government, it's like very hot topic right now because everything is being decided now. So it's very important that we also can have the opportunity to bring all those good practices from other member states, just to show that somebody is already doing this. We are not alone who is creating all those new ideas, for instance.
Thank you, Christina. Marek is sharing with us some references. Marek, would you comment on the webinar that you shared with us?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you, Bianca and Frank. Frank, thanks again for a fantastic presentation, and Bianca as well. I need to come back to you because I love your financing. Yeah, I mean, you are the essence of what clusters should be. I mean, the ability to be financed from your activities, and this is something that we will come back to you. I will come back to you bilaterally to discuss on how make clusters sustainable, not only on public funding. Yeah? But despite this, the whole story about digital innovation hubs, clusters, and European enterprise network will be discussed at a webinar which is organized on the 2nd of March at 3 o'clock. And then you see, if you scroll it down, there will be Bianca and myself. And this is Christina. I would be happy if you join this meeting as well and say what you just said here, that this is about ecosystem, because I see this is as well attempt to break the silos between the different people inside the Commission, out and as well in regions. The mindset that the creation of ecosystem, this is what it should be, is still missing in many regions. They're still like trying to compete with each other, which is nonsense. Instead of having, as Bianca showed, and you, Frank, very constructive approach to coexistence or complement or reinforcing each other. And this is as well the reason why we have in our recommendation paper, which we actually will publish today or tomorrow in the course of the industry days. You will receive the recommendation papers from the expert group, and as Bianca was saying, one of the recommendations coming from the expert group, and these are the ministries of economy dealing with cluster policies and our cluster manager experts. One of the recommendations was exactly to have digital innovation hubs and clusters working together, be together, and it's governing together. So this is a very important element, and I would like to draw your attention to the fact that this is as well the European enterprise networks and clusters, and it's already officially as well. We are having reorganization in DigiGrow, going in the direction of ecosystems, as you know, as well as member states for recovery fund being but we as clusters will be moved and we will together with in one unit with the Enterprise Europe network, with alliances, with partnerships, with Horizon. So everything which is related to, in my view, the modern economy is bringing together different actors, clusters, alliances. So we hope to be vanguard of the DigiGrow, and as well. We will be together with the European Enterprise Network, so that definitely only just by this organizational structure, we will complement and build synergies between the offers from EEN and clusters. So this is something that we will work together with you, Antonio, and colleagues in cluster community. So for this, I put this meeting so that it will be very helpful to have clusters, ICT clusters there as well to raise the voice, because I still see that many people have silos building mindset rather than silos breaking mindset, and European Digital Innovation Hubs as well, in order to create consortia from Digital Innovation Hub. So we still, there's a big work in Europe still to change the mindset of people in thinking of silos. This is what we will be doing. So thanks Antonio.
You are very welcome, Marek, and that's great news about the reorganization and cluster going closer to the European Enterprise Network and other networks. So thank you. Questions, comments?
There's a question in the chat, Antonio, by Jaime, which I would like to answer from my experience, which are the main contributions.
Please do that, yes.
DIH can give to an effective smart region. I have to admit that the entire term of a smart region came up only very recently. So we are familiar with what smart city could cover. It's a wide bunch of opportunities. We are only addressing a few of them. With smart region is even more complex. Our joint understanding as for now with the ministry is that if we talk about a smart region, we are definitely addressing also actors that are not located in a larger cities. So on the map of Saxony, of our region, you saw 3 major cities, all of them having 500,000 inhabitants. But we have a lot of smaller locations, of course, as well, where, to be honest, the majority of our SME members is located. And they are sometimes, or even very often, not appearing on the map in whatever extent you call this map. Huh? So our understanding of addressing a smart region is addressing stakeholders in the region, means in the rural areas. And this means to some extent also an adaptation of your services. What we are discussing right now with the ministry is, for instance, a concept called hometown office. It's a mix between working from home and working from an office. And the mix is that the office is close to your hometown in rural areas that are not so populated anymore, but maybe paid by the big companies that are located in the bigger cities. Huh? It's a win-win situation in the end, as you are saving commuting costs and time. But again, it requires cooperation on many levels. So that's a practical example what could be done. But the full and honest answer is the term of smart region is not yet fully defined, at least not in Saxony. There are some ideas, but it's nothing that is clearly defined and aligned with all possible stakeholders.
Very interesting, Frank. I like the idea of locating offices on the rural areas. Yeah, we need to think about that. It's a very interesting idea. Yes. Comments, question. We have only 2 minutes. Who is the last one contributing? Who wants to do that? Clodak. I see a comment from you in the chat. Will you comment, Clodak? Can you do that? Hello? No? Sometimes Clodak have problems with the mic. So the comment is that work is underway. I see that you have problems with the sound. That work is underway here in Ireland too, and it does provide an opportunity in the context of the innovation network and ecosystem built out. A very interesting point. And perhaps we should think more about that, but it will contribute to the development of the rural areas and something that is also very, very mixed with the social interest. So I really like that point. Smart specialization, rural and urban need to answer together the challenge. Yes, totally agree. So, extremely interesting session. Thank you very much, Frank, Christina, Marek, Klodak, every one of you for contributing. And we continue next week. But don't hesitate to use the contacts that you have shared today and make a stronger links between us. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.